Hey everybody, it's Tripl-L here to do the Hero Academia spoiler video very quickly. I wanted to do it earlier in the day, but hey, you'll get it on what, Wednesday night? Um, it's gonna be an interesting one. We have a lot of things going on. We're still doing the Shoji stuff. Uh, so let's just get right into it. You know the drill. We're just gonna read it right here. This is coming from Manga Helper, so thanks to the guys from Manga Helpers who took it from the Discord and put it here. Appreciated. So. Shoji tells Spinner that this attack will set their cause back by 30 years. Quick reminder, last time Shoji was about to tell everyone why they're stupid. Spinner gets angry and we see a brief flashback of All For One giving him a quirk, such as rigidity and scale armor. And between these memories, he remembers Shigaraki saying that he used to play League of Legends. Alright, we know that Shigaraki and Spinner play games, so that makes sense. We get the names of the quirk, that's really good. I gotta tell you, the summary does not do the pictures justice. There's like a lot more stuff happening in between the pictures. But let's see, that's when Spinner regains his composure and attacks Shoji back while his huge scales come out of his body. The strike sends Shoji flying and Koda shouts his name. Koda found where Shoji was again. He then starts thinking about the day when Shoji showed his face to the class and talked about his past. Okay, so this part's actually extremely summarized. When Shoji gets attacked, Shoji loses at least two replicated arms. So what you're seeing here is that this is a tactic that Horikoshi has used before. It's like whenever a character can lose arms and grow them back, authors start ripping off their arms a lot more often. You see it in Piccolo and Dragon Ball Z, and it actually happened with Shoji back during the summer camp. Like, he is the guy most likely to lose arms because he's the only guy that can regrow them. So the author gets a lot of shock value out of Shoji because he gets to do that kind of stuff. So seeing the tactic here, it's nice to see a return to classic Hero Academia strategies here. Anyway, Shoji lived in a small village and his parents' arms weren't like his, so he was the only one considered tainted blood. Now, what's interesting here is that Shoji also has a different face, so it's interesting that they just talked about the arms and not the face. I assume they're going to mention something about the face. Like Shoji's angles, because his face is so different, does make it kind of like weird in the images, but props to the author for drawing it. He says that Tokoyami and Koda, who grew up in big cities, may think things like these are things of the past, but violent people like this still exist. And here again you see a very calm approach to the situation of just, you know, telling people who don't know about the situation, like, hey, shit sucks, right? This is kind of the approach that you wanted the other mutants to come in with, you know, go to the big cities and tell people like, hey, this is actually a problem. Get in front of heroes that care. Would have been the way to go about it, but of course these guys, they just go to the guy who controls the Good Feel company. They go to a guy that's like the master of like support equipment, and you know, they just kind of fester, don't really do anything of value other than break stuff. Anyway, that was just a little bit of a quip. Mineta remembers when he called him an octopus way back in the first quirk test. He apologizes, but Shoji says that his hero name is Tentacle, and that he himself watches stuff like ranking of the heroes who look like villains, so he's not bothered by it. Okay, if you're following the channel, you know where my heart is at on this one. So when I see this stuff right here, I'm loving it, because in the previous chapter review, like I was pointing out that I was hoping that Horikoshi's going to bring up Pony, and the comment that Pony made about octopods, and Shoji responding with he's used to being feared, right? I kind of wanted him to bring it back up. I thought that he would be bringing back up those little moments to kind of build Shoji's platform. I 100% forgot that this segment ever happened in Hero Academia with Mineta calling him an octopus. But what we see here is that Horikoshi is using the tactic of bringing back these seemingly innocent moments and using them to build Shoji's platform. And the platform that he ultimately builds here, and I say platform, but that might not be the right word, position, perspective. He's fleshing out the perspective. What you see here is that Shoji is going into, like, he's embracing the aspects about himself, and he's wearing them proudly. You know, I have my own opinions about that kind of approach, like reclaiming stuff. But you know, good for him. The other really good thing here is ranking of the heroes who look like villains. Gang Orca. He is one of the villains. He's a hero that people rank as looking like a villain because he used to be a villain in another series, so it's a reference to that, but it's also just his like scary looking nature. What I really like about this is because I'm still biased. I'm still thinking that he's gonna bring up the Pony moment, and there's more at the end that kind of like might set that up. But the reason this is important is because if you bring up the Pony moment, you do want to kind of just build the thing of like, yeah, you know, it's okay to be grossed out by people who have like wildly different forms than you. That's okay. It's just like, you know, don't be a dick about it. It's okay to just make an observation about it. Like, you can't be that blind to it. It's the same thing like when it comes to regular people being like, yeah, Bakugo is really loud. There's nothing wrong with criticizing just on a surface level as long as you don't act on it, right? So that's what we're pretty much seeing here. He's just really moderate on the situation. He doesn't internalize this kind of hatred kind of thing here. Now, he says that these scars are the fact that he's a mutant. Okay, wait. He says that these scars are the fact that he is a mutant that give off a certain image. So he wears the mask so that people don't think he's vengeful. So this is actually a little bit scary. Or not scary. This is a little bit sad because he doesn't want people to think that he resents them. Tokoyami says that he's strong for putting up with all this because Tokoyami probably has never gone through this himself. Shoji replies that he can't just forget all the bad things that have happened. But instead of thinking about that, he prefers to focus on the one time he was glad to have the body. We then see a flashback of him saving a little girl from drowning using one of his arms. And the flashback occurs before he has his messed up face, which is really unfortunate. Kirishima, Mina, and Kaminari start crying because this is his only happy memory and jump into a hug, saying that they will create many more from now on. Koda, Tsuyu, and Mineta also approach him and Shoji hugs them all. Now, this is a little bit misleading. Koda, Tsuyu, and Mineta were already underneath his arms by the time the others come in to hug him, which was really cute and adorable. Now, what's interesting here is that Koda is like the other significant mutant. Tsuyu is also mutant shape, though she's not as aggressively deviated as Koda and Shoji. And Mineta, technically, his hair is also kind of mutant. Anyway, Shoji hugs them all. It's actually a really cute scene. Shoji smiles from his friend's kindness and says that while he doesn't think centuries of prejudice will be over in their generation, he'll continue the efforts of those who came before him. He'll become the coolest hero and pass this good memory to the next generation. So he's pretty much leading by example. We cut back to the present and Shoji shouts that he too has suffered violence and the attacks on them will never be justified. But he says that there has to be another way and remembers the giant civilian saying that she was kicked out from shelters for being a mutant. We knew that Horikoshi was going to bring her up. Not the panel that they used wasn't like the... I was really thinking there was going to be a new panel for it, but you know, we still have one more chapter of this. Spinner screams out of control saying that he doesn't care about any of this. Shoji says that they need to think about how to use their anger because they know how it feels to be hurt. The PLF general tries to interrupt, but Koda sends several birds in his direction. He tells them not to laugh at Shoji, and we see that his appearance has changed. There are more spikes coming out of his head. So actually, Koda's head was changing the entire chapter. It's just by the end of it, he has like a crown of spikes, I guess if you want to call it that. It seems to me like the head getting bigger and more distinct allows Koda to control more animals at once. That's what the images seem to suggest, at least. Anyway, Shoji grows several eyes on his arms and twists them, preparing to attack. I don't really understand the value of doing that because he's twisting them around his arm. It makes his arm look cool, but it's like, do you need the eyes? I don't fully understand the purpose there unless you have death rays. But yeah, Spinner calls him gross, and he says, yeah, and that's me. So this line here at the end is actually like the critical one because it's like, yeah, another mutant is calling a mutant gross because, yeah, growing a bunch of eyes and wrapping them around your arm with your tentacle is kind of squeamish. That's kind of a lot. All right, that is kind of weird looking, and that's just like it. The thing here is that particular line leads into the pony moment of like, yeah, it's okay to have, I don't know, like it's okay to have an aversion to things that are this entirely out of the norm. Like there are heroes here that are borderline Eldritch abominations, right? Like heck, there's like the sludge villain. To some degree, it's okay to be a little bit concerned, right? As long as you don't act on it, is like the big thing that we're seeing here. That's like really what Shoji is standing on. Like there's no... You have to like remember in the previous chapter, the big issue was that the people that ultimately hurt the people were people that ultimately said they just creeped me out or that they were just gross looking. Having Spinner just calling him gross is just like, you can't get away from this fundamental fact. But you can do something about how you react to it. Now, I did miss one portion of the spoiler here. It was at the very beginning. So the chapter began with asking about the hospital. Koda hears Shoji, and that's how he found him. And then we have the note that the mutants don't shake their convictions just because they see how badly messed up Shoji is. The big critical line at the beginning is that Spinner says he has no idea as to what's going on here. And we have the thing where the mutants are confused, but then the Paranormal Liberation Front manages to make it sound like he's commenting on the massacres. So they pretty much spin it. But like the important thing here in general is just that, you know, cracks are starting to form when it comes to Spinner. Like something's not quite right here, and Horikoshi's probably going to play on that for a little bit longer. Anyway, overall, really happy with the spoilers. I'm happy with some of the techniques I'm seeing employed here. The images for the chapter, again, the summary does it a disservice. I'm very happy with what I'm seeing. I'm really hoping that we get like a few more flashbacks. I think that would be really cool. And yeah, no, overall, it looks like we're going towards a message of like, you know, to some degree, like you can have your opinions, just don't be a dick about it. Anyway, guys, let me know what you thought down below. And till next time, I hope you have an absolutely great day.